Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Hi, Chief Sophia. How are you?
Good, good, good. Glad to be here as
Awesome. Hope you had
usual.
a great week.
It is almost time to go back to school, so it's
Yeah,
about as good as
the
it
days
could
are
be.
counting down.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. But we're here while we can. And I I think your question was so good last time that I went into a much longer thread than I had anticipated. Plus, there's a bunch of stuff I left out. So, um, where do you want to start?
Okay, let me find the thread. So I think maybe summarize like the importance of the nerd class. What is the nerd class? And then from there we can go deeper into how do we go about supporting, empowering this nerd class.
Okay, so the nerd class is the prophet. It's the mist that came out over the land before Adam, before Eve, before a bunch of stuff started coming out. You had um individuals where either as spirit souls or perhaps even physical beings that were taking the notes, documenting things, observing how this planet worked because there was no instruction manual. When you create something, a lot of times there's no instructions on how it's supposed to work. So someone has to do the observations, do the hard science of how things actually work, not theorizing and fantasies and all of that, but really the hard ones and twos of how does this planet work? How does this stuff operate? How are people supposed to interact with each other? All of that stuff. So the nerd class descends from that energy, from the energy of, look, I'm going to observe what's going on out here, and then I'm going to document it, obviously, and record what things are actually important, and the things that aren't so important, I'll de-emphasize them. And so the importance of the nerd class is really this capacity to document things, as in take the notes, do the research, do the studies to see how things respond, like a true scientist, and then to record the findings. So I liken this to, if you've been to college and done a research paper, when you're collecting research, when you're doing your investigation, you collect a lot of data. If it's a physical, like, experiment, then you're collecting physical data. But if you are um, taking research and um, it's like summarizing it or condensing it or applying it in ways it hasn't been applied before, you consume a lot of information. And then based on the information you consume, you draw specific conclusions. And those conclusions you record in a paper. So everybody has read these papers that these scientists and whoever put out, but they don't understand that there's a process for that. So, like, that whole academic thing has just been destroyed. Like, there's very little authenticity left in that sphere at all. But you do still have people who are in this energy of observing nature, documenting what you see in nature, and then theorizing, or not theorizing, or recording, that's the term I use, recording the results. You have lots of people who still do this, but because they're not on the government payroll, they won't make, you know, um, they won't make the results fit the narrative. These people are ostracized. And the more they're ostracized out of society, the less likely society can advance. And so that's why you see essentially the whole planet is like at a standstill, waiting for the next big thing. Now, a lot of people believe that the next big thing is this AI, but people who are observing this without emotion, I don't see that. Like, I see people post all the time, like, oh, this AI is the next big thing. There's huge amounts of development and all this stuff. And it just, being an older person, it just reminds me of um the boom, the bust, the that happened in 2000, or when the internet just like imploded and everybody, the dot-com bubble, that's what it's called. It reminds me of the dot-com bubble. Like, everybody thought, oh, if I just buy this website, .com. I knew people who were doing this. They were buying up every name they could think of for a website, like every name. And then when someone wanted to start a business, they literally would sell them these domains that they had bought and been holding, for outrageous amounts of money. And this was a real like business. People did this, and that whole .com bubble burst because it didn't have any value. There wasn't any real innovation. There were smart people involved, but they weren't nerds. They weren't committed. A lot of people see like the current incarnation of cryptocurrencies in that same lens. But it faces the same issues where there's a lot of smart people in this space, but um, there's not people who really understand it. Like, so many people have just accepted the narrative that there's not enough nerds that went and did the background and said, okay, who is Satoshi? Like, how do we have a whole industry now, millions, billions, trillions of dollars? Now you can put your 401k and all of it in there, that came from this white paper from this, again, anonymous source. Is that even true? Like, where did this come from? And unfortunately, to tell everybody, which this is the nature of these things, this is also an invention, part of the suite of inventions invented by Michael McKibben. This is part of it. This was literally part of his invention. This whole concept of blockchain was taken from his invention that was stolen. And so people are building their whole empire off of this stolen technology. And being that that's the same thing that happened with the .com bubble, and obviously it's the same thing that's happening with AI, I'm not really sure how sustainable it is. We do need alternate currencies, and I'm not against alternate currencies as, you know, some way of doing business, but people have to really, really be aware that they're not dealing with nerds in these fields. They're dealing with just smart people or clever people who know how to make things work and make things look a certain way. Like this whole, I used to, I guess about 5 years ago, listen to a podcast where the guy was saying everything could go on blockchain. You could put your health, you could put this, you could put that. And at the time, even at the time, I was like, I'm not really sure how that's going to work. Like, I understand the concept of tokenization, but I don't think that this person has really thought this all the way through. And obviously that podcast doesn't exist anymore, so I can't even refer it to you. But yeah, it's a lot. This is what happens when you have people who are smart, who are clever, who are trying to make an agenda work for what they want to accomplish, but they're not the true nerds. And so with the crypto, you see a lot of these quote unquote whales selling huge amounts of their portfolio. I've seen so many people say, okay, I made, $2, $3 million. I'm going to do something safe now. Well, whoa, whoa. I thought crypto was the safe thing. And, like now you've got I just saw that one of the universities, I think it was Brown or something like that, has invested a huge amount of money into Bitcoin. So now it's going into that next phase of the business that I don't think a lot of young people are involved in crypto. And I don't think they understand what is coming, because once these individuals, these big businesses get involved, they just steal everything. Like, they just steal everything. There is no privacy because all of these things have back doors. And so a lot of people are they're going to lose what they have. And it's very sad that they've done it like this. But I don't know how got started talking about crypto, but it all ties into this whole concept of you have people who are smart and people who are clever who are running these systems, but they're not really nerds.
It's yeah, it's interesting that you brought up crypto because I call what has happened in the space, I call it the curse of the nerd. And
Mm.
for a number of years, I've been talking about the issue with crypto is that there's all these nerds that don't understand the market. Like they don't understand retail. And so they're creating all these different infrastructure projects, raising tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And at this point, there's still no retail adoption. The cryptocurrency space is basically just a casino for
Yeah.
gambling and maybe some decentralized finance where you can earn a few percentage points a year on your money. But like if you were to really look at it in terms of what has the crypto space accomplished to support the masses, to support humanity, after all the billions of dollars have been pumped into the market by the VCs, the quote unquote brilliant VCs, we still don't have an app. We still don't have a company that is actually using this supposedly breakthrough, groundbreaking technology to empower humanity. And so I see that, and then I see all these supposedly super intelligent people in the space. And the reason I call it the curse of the nerd is because it's all these nerds getting really wealthy because they're just extremely greedy and they're not actually in tune with the market. They're not in tune with what the retail actually wants. What they're more in tune with is how to take from the retail, how to how to extract as much money as possible from the masses and continue pushing out their almost distorted view of how the technology should be developing. And years continue to pass by and we're still in the same shit copy pasting what everybody else is doing in the space. So I guess with this, it's now I have a different view of nerds with how you have been talking about it. So it's almost like what I notice is it's like this class of nerds, which maybe it's a different name now. It's like they got like a virus. And they
Mm.
got the
Oh,
virus, kind of what you're saying with the government employees, where it's just like it's like they're government owned almost.
I call it in the black community, I call it the Hebrew mind virus. These people believe, with black people, so many of them believe that they're Hebrew Israelites, that they never, and it's the same problem. And I'll let me finish my thought on the Hebrew Israelites. It's a say it's a mind virus. It's literally a mind virus. It's the mind virus of saying I am this, I am not good enough on the inside. And so my identity must be associated with this external thing. A real nerd cannot be identified with anything other than what's on the inside of him. Like when you see like me, I it doesn't matter what name I go by because I change my name like every 5 seconds. Um, but when I start talking, oh, you be like, oh, I know that. I know her. She's talking about this. She's talking about that. That's who I am. It's in me. It's not on me, so I can't take it off and put it on like a suit. Now, why I say it's the same group, because the term crypto comes is in historically has been used to describe a group of people called the crypto Jews. And there's also crypto Muslims. These were black Jews or black Muslims that they practiced the faith of Judaism or Islam, but they were really not that. They just practiced that so that they could fit into that culture that they were a part of, but it wasn't in them, it was on them. So a lot of those people, anyway, without going all the way down the history rabbit hole, a lot of those people got kicked out of Europe and they ended up over here in America. Now, remember, there was already black people here in America. So when they came here, they just blended into what we were doing and called themselves natives, called themselves aboriginals or whatever term we were calling ourselves, because they looked similar to us, but again, they practiced these other religions that had these other gods. So the term crypto is such a loaded term even of itself. I would just call them cryptos. Like, they're not nerds, they're just cryptos. They're literally putting the cryptocurrency on them like a suit. And and that's what they're using to define who they are. But people who are real, people who really experience life, it's in them, it's not on them.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, there's it's really strange. It's really weird. And it makes sense that the crypto space in particular would be overtaken by some sort of mind virus, and even the what they would call the elite of crypto are really like they're um I mean I would say retarded, but really they are like extremely low vibrational. Like they're really there's something inherently wrong with them. Like something almost, and I don't even want to call it demonic. It's like they just they are so greedy and so for making money. They don't care about helping humanity. They don't give a fuck about anything else but trying to find ways to take advantage of retail. And it's really sad, it's really strange, it's really weird, and I think it's and these people are nerds. Like you would look at them and you would say, at least the stereotypical nerd, these people are the stereotypical nerds, but they're like the nerds that always fixated on getting validation from others. So it's like they're like they're not it's like they just were never popular. And they
Right.
weren't, and obviously I think there's two types of nerds. There's the nerds that just are so into doing what they were called to do in this reality. And then there's like these kind of nerds that just were never loved, were never liked, were never interesting in many ways, but like never were able to get build that self-worth. And now, because they are able to do something like, let's say, crypto, they're able to almost, through their making of money, able to try to fill that void of their lack of self-love. Because I would say in many ways, like what makes the nerd class so powerful is that they have had to learn to love themselves. They have
Right.
had to embrace themselves. They have had to go through the trials and tribulations that comes in this reality to find self-worth from within instead of trying to be validated out there.
Right. And one thing that's interesting is, I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but you sound more and more like me every week. I'm like, this is exactly what I say. I say this stuff all the time. They're LARPing in the energy of the nerds. It's really crazy how these two storylines overlap, because I say the same thing about the people who are uh I call them professional victims unit, pretending to be Israel, when in fact they are LARPing in the energy of the ones who would truly be called that. And so you have this same thing over here in the space. Like, yeah, of course, these people who do this stuff are smart, but like you said, they're not in tune with the natural cycle of the earth. They're not in tune with anything natural. Like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, like, just in general, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be in tune with your customers. And like I can't figure out who the customer is for crypto. Like, I understand how people are making money because I do trading. So I understand how people are making money from the interest and blah 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 blah. I get that. But what I don't understand is, who is the customer for this? Like, why would I want something if I can pay with a credit card? Why do I need a crypto? Like I just I it never. But again, this is the problem of when you have a class of people who are disconnected from reality. So not only are they disconnected from their potential customers, they're also disconnected from the earth, like how the cycles work. Like everything has a cost, right? And you have to pay the cost in what the person is willing to accept. And so, for example, if you go to the ocean and you're trying to make a petition to the sea, you have to give the sea something that it can accept. So if you go to the sea with, money, what is the sea going to do with money? It doesn't need money. But if you take paper, like write something down, not cash, but like paper, a petition, energy, observation, some a lot of the elements that just want to be observed and respected for the power that they hold, and that's their power. um when you are just smart, you're not connected with that. So like a good example of this is I've been I live near the beach, close enough to the beach that I can go. So I've been trying to figure out like how to do this sort of hurricane predicting. Like, how does the water change when a hurricane is coming? Because they've taken some of the radars down, and I'm on the ground here, like and where I am is kind of like the middle of this coastline. I should basically be able to figure out like when a storm is coming. So I've been watching the predictions of the hurricanes, and about a week ago, well, at the beginning of the week, they said, "Oh, it's a hurricane's going to be here in 4 to 5 days." And when I went to the beach on Monday, and I was like, "It's a little foamy, so maybe something is coming within a week or 2 weeks," but I'm not really seeing that like in this water. I don't see that. And then I went back today, and I was like, first I was like 2 to 4 days, but now I'm like, nah, it's probably more like a week out. So maybe there's going to be a hurricane coming through here in the next 5 to 7 days. But these people who are doing these predictions, they're not on the ground. So they're just basing their stuff off the models, what the models are showing, what this is predicting, that is predicting. And it's like, no, if you were on the ground, you would know when an earthquake is coming. Like if you looked at the beach and noticed the changes, like I noticed it's already a full moon, so the beach is short, but it's also like building like a small like buffer. And I'm like, okay, I remember seeing that last year because I've been here 3 years. I've been observing the water. And when it gets close to a hurricane, it starts building a buffer as to not let the whole shoreline wash away, and different things. There's different things that take place on the beach. And so these people who are doing these predictions on the internet, they have nobody on the ground actually. Even the meteorologists, they're not going out on the ground and seeing it. They're really just waiting until after the fact and saying, yeah, we saw it on the radar. And even the radar has issues because they're using it for pulsing electromagnetic frequencies and all this weird stuff. And so right now, as of now, you really don't have anybody, like, not anybody. I haven't seen a lot of people publicly just documenting the changes so that you can see, oh, okay, if you see this and you're by the water, there's probably an earthquake coming. These things, I mean, not earthquake, a hurricane coming. These things can be predicted, and not just with satellites, sonars, and radars. Like if you're on the ground, you can absolutely tell that there's something coming. It's just like with fires. Like you can tell, like if you walk through the woods and you see a bunch of dry brush, and it hasn't rained in X, Y, and Z. Like that 9 times out of 10 a fire is going to start here because of the factors that go into it. Tornadoes might be a little bit harder, but I don't live in tornado country. So somebody who lives there would probably be better at identifying the natural causes of that. What I don't see in crypto is I have a need for this. It reminds me, like, again, I'm older. So it reminds me of the Beanie Babies. Like, you needed a Beanie Baby. You had to have a Beanie Baby. What did you do with the Beanie Babies? People thought they were going to be. I mean, it's funny because a lot. of younger people were not here for all the craziness that was like 1990 to like 2000, which was some of the craziest times I think on the planet. But this is what happened with the Beanie Babies. Everybody had needed a Beanie Baby. They were fighting over the Beanie Baby, all kinds of stuff, and you were like, okay, what are you gonna do with these Beanie Babies? People had these huge collections, and what happened? Like nobody is like people are like collecting them now, but it's not. It didn't turn into this $1 million thing. But what you didn't have that you have now is all these institutional investors getting into Beanie Babies. You don't have private equity getting into Beanie Babies because that would have created. So it's almost like the private equity created a they knew they were going to get kicked out of everywhere else, so they created a place where they could go to constantly suck out capital from the consumers. And you can see that transformation is almost there, because if people start putting their 401ks into these markets, not understanding that there is no market because there is no money, and so crypto is just more no money. What are these people going to do when they go to retire and they thought they were going to have $1 million because all these people made millions of dollars in crypto and they have nothing? Like, it's a very, very precarious situation. And it's really, to me, it seems like a tipping point from the financial perspective, because you have people out here who can't afford to have the mistakes of the 90s with the dot-com bubble and the Beanie Baby craze and all the other stuff. They can't afford to have that happen to them, because they don't own houses. A lot of the people doing that kind of stuff, they own houses because housing was cheap. They had cars because cars were cheap. They could get a job at McDonald's because they were hiring Americans, obviously. Like, you have a lot of factors now that none of that stuff is really, it ain't factoring the way that it used to. And so I'm not really sure, like, this is what I mean when I say the people who are of this capacity, like, I just use nerd as a overarching label, but if you have the capacity to see that the things are not going to work out the way the oligarchs are saying, you have to really start thinking about what it should look like. And again, this is the documentation phase. So this goes into my thread. In my thread, I talk about documenting versus recording. Documenting is all the possible things that could happen. Like right now, we're laying out all, not all, but a lot of the different possibilities, potential problems, issues, all the things that could happen. This is like, that's what documenting is. It's the general discussion. I was in mock trial. And so this is the general laying out the case, talking about the case, getting the case out there, that kind of stuff. All of this is the general way that things are being handled. Okay. And then at some point, someone has to make an argument or cross-examination. And that's what recording is. Didn't this happen on this day? Didn't this happen on that day? And the person has to say, oh yes, oh yeah, and so that a conclusion can be drawn from the information that you've just been documenting. It's like building a case. Like, when you come to a conclusion, you have to build a case based on some kind of inputs. And this is what, um when you listen to the inputs of someone like an Elon Musk, you don't get, I can't follow him. Like, this is a telltale sign that a person is not really a nerd, but just a clever person, a smart person. You can't follow their argument. Like, A plus B is C. Like, I can't follow what you're saying. And a lot of that is, a lot of these people, they don't have conversations with people who disagree with them. But if you are in a nerd class right now, you're always talking to people who disagree with you, because you're always trying to convince them that your point is correct. Back in the day with the philosophers, this is what they would do. They would get together and they would have a philosophy off, and they would challenge each other like sharpening iron. So a lot of these people, they all agree on the same basic facts. And when you have a real nerd, they're going to say, I don't agree with this basic fact. Where did this basic fact come from? Like, one of the things I point out is that zero is not a real number. Who told you guys zero was an actual number? So think about this. If all computer coding is zeros and ones, and zero's not a real number, what does that tell you about your code? Zero is a placeholder. So what is it holding the place for? When people start to put those two and two together, then you start to get an answer for what's going on. 9 times out of 10, wherever those zeros are, if you take all the zeros out and you just leave the ones, you have some kind of sigil dedicated to some kind of entity that is actually making that program run. And of course, nobody's talking about it from this perspective, because if you're a person who has made your entire fortune on computers, you don't want somebody like me coming in and telling you, hey, your computer's a demon, right? And like, you're just being a demon with it. Like, you're not even challenging it to do, you're not even using the demon to do good. You're using the demon to be a demon. Same thing happened with the Chat GPT. A girl requested the Chat GPT to draw a picture of her and the AI. And you know what? The AI drew a demon with the girl. But you don't understand. The AI is anything that it's everything that you are. So if I asked the AI to draw a picture of me, it ain't going to be a demon. It's going to be an angel with some probably big giant wings and two huge swords, more than likely, because that's who I am on the inside. And so people think that these things are not related, but when you start, a person who truly has this capacity can put these two and two things together. And there's a lot of people, again, larping in the energy of people who are actually very brilliant. Like, there's a guy in the crypto space. His name is Reggie Middleton. He's a brilliant creator. He did something, I don't know. I was following his story, but I've forgotten all the crypto stuff because I don't really get into that anymore. But he had this whole thing. It was getting ready to go, and then like the US government didn't like what he was doing, and they put him in jail. And then when they finally did let him out of jail, they stole all his tokens and his whole they destroyed his whole life because they didn't like what he was doing. It's just like what they did with Ross Ulbricht. Same thing. All he did was build a website, a e-commerce website. They didn't like that. No, 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 because they want you to only go to Amazon or Walmart or Etsy or something that they can control, that they have back doors into. They don't want you to have commerce websites that they can't control. So you can't be doing that. Like that's the way that they feel about it. And so when you have a group of kleptomaniacs and larpers, you're not going to get very far inside their system, like that. You have to do something to get outside of their system, and that's where the nerd class comes in. And but part of it is spaces like this with people who have alternate views of what's happening, having these kind of discussions. Because if you look at the major crypto platforms and all that stuff, they don't have people on who think crypto is BS. They don't have people on to challenge the validity of their whole worldview. They don't. And so what you end up with, because one thing I found out in doing the research for my thread is that um the what is that word called? A deer? A beer. Okay, so in Greek, okay, the word for wings is Petrux, and Pterux, and it means feather. Specifically, what kind of feather is strong, and a beer. And a beer is like when you have a breed, like you have a bunch of small chicks, you will take the chicks and put them under your feather to protect them. So that's what an abir is. An abir is a person who takes in the less able to take care of themselves and shelters them and protects them. And there's a scripture Jesus says in relation to that. But the one who's supposed to protect the real Israelites is Jacob. They call him Abir Jacob, and so that makes me think about a lot of stuff. But they call him Abir Jacob, but he is the one who is supposed to be protecting the Israelites. But again, if you're LARPing in the energy of the Israelites, and there's like a Bible story that goes with this, when see not Abraham but Isaac. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau, and so Jacob, Isaac's wife, Rebecca, wanted Jacob to get the blessing. And so what ended up happening was Jacob got the blessing, but it was because he was dressed in the same clothing as his brother Esau, because Esau was hairy. And so he put on like this whole hairy thing and basically pretended to be his brother. And so he was able to get the blessing. So I always mention this because it's important. I believe that Isaac was autistic of some sort because he acted like a child his whole life, and his wife was really like basically take care of him, and she was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years younger than him. She was very, very young when they got married. Like, I'm not even sure she was 13, like very, very young, but he was a child. So he literally had no like the story that the stories they tell about him are insane. Like when Abraham put him on the altar to be sacrificed, this man was 35. He wasn't 12 or 13. In the pictures, they show him as a young, like a child. He wasn't a child. He was 30 some years old. And so there's no way you would be like, okay, daddy, light me on fire at 30 some years old if you are a normally functioning person. So I say that to say Jacob comes from a less than functioning parent, which is fine. We don't judge. We're just making the observation that he also um could have could be tricked because his father could be tricked, he could be tricked. And so if someone is larping in the energy of somebody, then they can trick the person who is supposed to be, again, as this a beer who is supposed to be covering them. And that's what happens. So that's why you have to have free speech, dissenting voices coming out and saying, I don't think so. And then documenting it, like I said, what we're doing here, and then eventually recording it and saying, nah, I don't think this is going to work. This is a huge problem. We should do this. I don't care if it's presidents involved in it, whoever, that was a choice for them to be involved in this stuff. They probably should have just stayed out of it. But people who make money, they see opportunities to make money and they just get into it. And so look, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with all that, but I do know that there's people LARPing in the energy of the people whose voice really matters, the real nerds who actually understand what's going on. And that whole system of being able to hide in someone else's energy is the matrix that's being ripped apart. These people are not going to be able to continue to pretend to be someone they're not. They've gotten away with this for an extremely long time, and that whole thing is falling apart. And because it's falling apart, they don't know what to do. They're just looking for other people's energy to get into that they think will cover them. So another example of this is I see that the parasite equity is now into animal hospitals. And so I've been seeing a lot of people talking about taking their animals to the vet. The animals are sick. They got to pay for vet bills and all this stuff. And I was thinking, I don't remember that being a thing people talked about like 10 years ago. Like if you went to the vet, you had a nice little local person you went to and they, were a vet, and that's just it was something that wasn't a life-shattering like cost. But now since parasite equity has gotten in there, they're literally privatizing all of these hospitals. So people are going to do, regular stuff for their pets, and they're getting weird charges. Their animals are dying and all kinds of stuff. And so you can see that they're just looking for another host, because why would you get into animal hospitals? Like what would possess you to think, yeah, we got these people going to hospitals, let's get these animals too? Like that's kind of something's wrong. Like again, something's wrong with you if you think it's okay to take something as precious to someone as their pet and put a dollar amount on, put a toll booth up over their pet so that now who would want to have a pet? If you potentially could have $100,000 vet bills that no one explains for this cat, where you just thought, they might need some penicillin or something like that. Like, who wants to take that risk? Like, you're basically, it's like, it feels like they're totally degrading the quality of life in order to put up a toll booth at every turn. Like, if you are of a certain age, you can't buy a house, you can't buy, because I had, was asking, talking to somebody about this whole student loan crisis. And I'm like, why don't they just not pay? And the lady was like, well, if they don't pay, they can't get an apartment. I said, well, why don't they just go home and live with their parents? Like, I'm confused, but they're like, well, everybody doesn't have the option for that. And I'm like, but if they couldn't go home and live with their parents, why did they go to college in the first place? Like, I'm just confused about like this whole thing, because who is going to college and then they can't go home and live with their parents? No, you won't have your freedom, but if you've got this outrageous college bill, why work like a slave just to pay your bills? Like, I don't understand that. So either you're going to say, F them bills, I ain't paying them, and I'll just do what I have to do to live my life, or you have an alternative, which is you pay it but you go home, and you know what I mean. Like, there's got to be some kind of a middle ground, because these people, how can you how what who in their right mind would be telling their kids, yeah, go to college right now and get a degree, because you'll be able to get a degree and come out of college and get a job? You can't do that. And then if you come out of college and get a job, you can't get a house, you can't get a car. I mean, how can anybody even live under these circumstances? And so, because again, we're fasting right now, and our fast is against this parasite equity, this private equity, all of this stuff. We, especially now is the time to air your grievances. And at the end of this cycle, which is the Libra equinox, then that's when the conclusion will be made. Like, all of this stuff is coming up with these parasite equity organizations so that people can talk about it from the proper perspective, and not like only people who it benefits. Now everybody can talk about it. And believe me, I know this student loan thing is a part of their portfolio. It's got their name written all over it. So if that's the case, then they got to be addressed too. But again, it's not going to be addressed, or it can't be addressed, if the nerds aren't talking about it. So again, all of this stuff got to be talked about. It's got to be documented on the record that these are actual real problems. And then the conclusion just has to be made. Like, I don't know if they're going to forgive the loans, but they're going to have to do something, because there's no way that you can start paying on a loan that's $80,000. They added 200% interest. So now you've got $280,000 to pay back. You can never pay that. That's a house. How can these people buy houses? It's like, when you peel back the layers of what they were building, like the system they were building, you can just see how meticulously each layer was put in. First, tell them to go to college and get these loans. Then the loans have variable interest rates. We do whatever we want with them. Boom. Then put them in these corporate jobs. But guess what? We know the AI is coming. So as soon as the AI comes, we're going to bribe them with, was that universal basic income or whatever, because we don't actually need them to work in these jobs anymore, because the jobs were always fake, and the jobs were always fake. Now we just need them to consume, because we are building a consumer class, not a worker class. Okay, so now you've got people hooked on the universal basic income in their consumer class. Well, they need medical care. Their pets are going to need this medical care. They're going to need this. They're going to need that. We're going to make sure that they get sick. We're going to make sure they stay retarded with the flu shots, with the mercury in them every year. Like, you can just see and then not even to mention the climate change thing piled on top. And then all the social experiments they're piling on top of that. I mean, they were building it was always a house built on a sandy or faulty foundation, because as soon as the people wake up, I wrote something down. When poor people would be properly informed, they would quickly throw off the yoke of their servitude and invest their concerns into the people of their neighborhood rather than movie stars, heads of states, or aliens. This was on the Abarim Publications website, which does the Greek to English translation of the Bible, under their description of angels. Like, if people would just realize that you're the angel, you're the angel you've been waiting for, then this whole system changes. Because if you're the angel, that means you go out and help your neighbor. You don't thoughts and prayers to somebody to come and help this person. You go do it. You see your neighbor in need, you go help them. You're the angel now. Like, if people were to accept that as a part of who they are, then things would change really quickly for everyone. And that's what we need the nerd class to do. Accept that no one is going to accept your work. Like, they're not going to accept your work. So go about making your work work. One thing that nerds can do that imitators cannot is commerce. If you're a nerd, you can engage in commerce because you have a deep understanding of the market, because you've observed the market. You know exactly who your customer is because you've observed your customer. You are your first customer. Most people are making things that they need. Like, if you're creating something that is filling a need that you have. And so once you realize that I'm fulfilling a need that I have deep down in my soul, because I am the angel, I am the one who's going to be able to help my neighbor, then the whole system changes. If everybody just does that with their one thing that they're good at, um like one thing that they're really good at, then the whole system changes. But as long as everybody is looking for someone else to come and save them, instead of them being the savior for someone else, which sounds similar, but it's really different in practice and in theory. Like, I'm not waiting for someone to come and save me. I am commanding the resources that I need to go and save other people. But again, what do they tell you? Oh, if you get money, don't do this, don't help anybody, don't do this. Oh, what's the thing I saw? Like, oh, don't tell people that you're fasting because it's supposed to be private. That's BS. I'm not supposed to gloat about it and throw on ashes and sackcloth and cry in the streets. But if I don't tell people that I'm fasting and what I'm fasting for, then why would they lend me their energy? That means I'm doing it by myself. By me always talking about it, I'm planting that seed in a garden, in a fertile garden, even if it's the garden of myself, saying, hey, I know that these parasite equity need to go, and I don't care if it's me and the creator, and we're going to take these guys out, it'll be just us, and we'll do it. Like, you have to have that much love for yourself that you don't want to live in a world with these people. People are like, "Oh, I'm doing this for my kids, my grand." No, no, no. Do you want to live in a world where these people just get free reign and there's nobody protecting anybody? No. So that means in order for you to have the love you want, you have to show the love. In order for you to be protected, you have to be a protector. Like, that's the even exchange. And if you're being a protector, you will be protected. If you're showing love, you will be loved. They've got the system inverted right now, so it's not showing up the way they're supposed to. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It is still true. If you show love, you will be shown love. If you protect somebody, you will be protected. And I think that in my own story, like, that's the reason why I've been able to overcome what I have overcome in the last 3 years, because I was always saying, who is going to protect these people who don't know? Who is going to help these people who don't know, who are just trying to do their best, and they don't know that they don't know zero doesn't exist, and so they're carrying around a literal demon in their cell phone, and they are the ones who have to program that demon to be an angel, because you can program any entity to do positive, or you can program it to do negative, and it's on you to do the programming based on your actions. Something that talk I I think I put in my thread too was these four witnesses. Um and it's in um John 5 and 37. It notes in a Greek Orthodox Bible, not Greek, but the Orthodox Bible, it notes the four witnesses. For Jesus had four witnesses. One was God the Father, one was John the Baptist, one was the Old Testament scriptures, and one was his own work. What is in the Old Testament have to be fulfilled in the actions of Jesus. John the Baptist was his brother. So you have to love your neighbor, your brother, as yourself. And if and something else Jesus said is, if you see me, then you've seen my father, because I am my father and my father is in me. This is how all of this stuff works together. And so if you don't understand that all of these things literally working together, all of these things are your witnesses, then you can be thrown way off, like, by the whole situation. But as soon as you wake up out of your dream and say, okay, if I'm here, that means I have a purpose, and if I have a purpose, that means I need to get to work. And if I get to work, that means I'm going to help somebody. And whatever it is that I'm doing, I can find buried into the scriptures. So, yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Great. Yes. Very, very important. And I think going into or talking, just mentioning quickly the whole vet thing with private equity. What these private equity firms really are doing is they're doing exactly what you're saying. They're just like faking the energy. So they take these already existing vet clinics and they just basically strip them down, increase the costs, uh, focus on whatever is making the money, make the website look nicer, make the marketing maybe nicer. Like they know how to fake it. So if the clients are already there, if it's already a running business, they know how to make it look nice and shiny while making the actual substance of it complete garbage. It's complete trash.
It's
And
crazy.
and so this is really that virus. And this is a virus that is impacting all of reality where it's like this virus is really good at making things look good, making things look great. And obviously, if we're looking at the shadows and we've been told all our lives, like the shadows are the real thing, that's the thing you have to believe, well, people are going to believe it. They're gonna go to that
Right.
clinic. They're gonna buy that shit coin. They're gonna support the scam artist. They're gonna support whatever system it is that makes things look shiny, even if it completely consumes their soul. They're gonna do it because, well, everyone else is doing it and it looks good. It makes me look good. But the beautiful thing about what is happening now, and because we are real, it has been it has been very challenging to go against or even to work closely with these people that have the virus because they could see your essence. They can feel that you are wherever you go, you are going to look beyond the gilded gold and realize that it's just gilded, that it's just fake, that it's a sham, that it's not actual value as it used to be. And obviously, us being nerds, as you call it, the prophets, we're not going to stand for that. We're not going to allow systems that are clearly misaligned continue functioning. And that's what the virus does not want. It does not want us in the system changing things up. So, what we've had to basically do is work on the fringes to try to come up with some sort of strategy to like overcome and conquer this virus with so much force, dominance, and potency to basically have it be destroyed because we couldn't do it from within. It's just not it's not possible because what the virus tries to do is it either tries to consume you or it tries to like completely make you submit, destroy you if you don't follow through with their idiocy. But so what we're doing now is we're attacking them energetically because physically it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to go against a virus that's been around for who knows how long.
Right.
So now what's happening is the virus and the people that are promulgating the virus are having to work 10 times as hard to maintain anything, and the energy that they need to run this much more expensively energy consuming machine is not in the masses anymore. Like they've already exhausted the energy. Like they're already at peak capacity in taking the energy of the masses. Now
Right.
they need the energy of the nerds. And the nerds
Right.
do not trust them for shit. The
Nope.
nerds would rather go homeless and eat whatever they could scrounge up because they've been either attempted humiliated, they've been the tried co-opted, they've been tried destroyed, attacked it. So why would we ever why would we ever try to work closely with what is clearly misaligned? Because now it's an energy thing, now it's a frequency thing. In the
Right.
same way that we could not get into their rooms because literally just the energy. It wasn't whether you were good or not. It was the energy was just not there. It was not possible. It was
Right.
not possible, not possible to enter the rooms. Now it has completely shifted. The poles have shifted. Now they need us and they can't enter our rooms.
Right. And I think that part of this has to do with astrological timing too, because energetically 2025 is a huge year because you have um all of the major outer planets changing signs. Saturn, Neptune, Uranus just changed signs. Jupiter, Pluto, all of these planets literally changing signs this year. Plus, you had Mars, which is the planet of our willpower. It was in retrograde going through Cancer for almost 6 months, which is pretty well unheard of. And Cancer is all about the mother, feminine energy, like that, literally like that being covered in the feathers type of energy and being babied. And so you have this whole energetic wise, this the energy is not supporting the system going the way that it was going before, so things have to go in a new direction. And that's the thing that these people, these parasites, they don't understand what happens when things go in a new direction. It's one thing for things to be the same, but when people start being different, this creates chaos just in and of itself. You just, if you always take the same way to work, you deciding to just go a different way is introducing chaos into their systems, because remember, they don't have, they're not living. They don't live. And so therefore, if their host does anything different, they always have to be worried that the host is going to expel them. Like, okay, are they going somewhere where they're going to get rid of me? Like, trying to figure out what you're going to do. I can't tell you how many times in the last 3 years that I could not think about what my next move was going to be because of the way that this energy has been working with me. I'm a thinker. I plan my steps out. Anytime I planned anything for like the whole last 3 years, it I couldn't manifest. I could not make it happen. I personally have never had that problem because a creator is going to create. I've never had a problem where I set a goal and then couldn't reach it. And plus I have like my placements are crazy. And so this this has been my experience with these entities, so I know how they operate. They literally like overhear your own personal thoughts and will lie to you even in your own head to ensure that they get to live on. But they don't have that opportunity anymore because once you learn the formula of how to rid yourself of them, like there is no going back. Like one thing I found out today was um because I had theorized that there was something in pork that actually helped people to remove parasites. Now, if you go look up pork and parasites, you're not going to find this because all the research tells you, oh, there's parasites in the pork, blah, 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 all this stuff. So you're not going to find this. But I was like, well, because in the Bible, you have the story of there was a man, he had a legion of demons inside of him, and the demons requested to be cast into the pigs, and then the pigs drowned themselves. And I was like, I've had a lot of theories about this over the last year and a half, 2 years, but I was like, why would they do that? So since I've been doing this parasite cleanse, I'm doing a parasite cleanse, and I was thinking like, okay, well, obviously if these were parasites that was inside of this man that were making him act like a maniac, and the parasites requested to be cast into the pigs, there was something that they thought was in the pigs that was going to allow them to live longer. But then that wasn't true because then the pigs destroyed themselves. And so I basically boiled it down to boron. I think a lot of pigs get preserved, especially back then. Boron or borax was a preservative that they used for cured meats. And so these parasites thought if we get put into these pigs, whenever someone eats us, we'll just go into the new host. But the pigs did something different. They jumped into the water. And so when you consume this pork, it draws the parasites in because they know that they can live in, I think borax is alkaline, and so they can live more in that environment. And this is another reason why people who are um they consume a lot of alkaline foods. They think that they're getting rid of the parasites and all of that. They're getting rid of a lot of stuff, but parasites, I think they must like alkaline ingredients. I mean, alkaline hosts. So these people who are vegetarians and all of this stuff, clean eating and all of that. My grandma didn't eat clean, didn't, and my great grandmother and my great great grandmother. My great grandmother ate fat back and all kinds of stuff, scrapple stuff I can't even imagine today. So, and they lived a long time. So obviously something they did was working. And so throwing away all the wisdom of the elders and, oh, I'm not going to eat pork because, again, back to the mind virus, like the Hebrew mind virus, oh, I don't eat seafood. It's shrimp are the cockroaches of the sea and all of that. Somebody pointed out that seawater is salty. So you mean to tell me a cockroach is the same as a shrimp that's been brining in seawater? No, it's totally different. And so, but if you've been fed this mind virus of everything that feels natural to you is actually bad for you, how do you come out of that? How do you snap out? There is no snapping out of that. You have to first identify the fact that these people are lying to you. That's what it started with me. Like, oh, they're lying. Oh my gosh, why would they lie about that? Then I had to look at myself and say, am I lying to myself? Because these people lie to themselves real easy. I love how this thing keeps kicking me out every time I'm saying something important. Uh I don't know what you heard last, but so you're gonna have to, what was I saying? I don't
Um,
know.
we were talking about the mind virus.
Oh, and the
Um,
parasites. Right.
yep.
So So people have this mind virus around all of around whatever it is that somebody told them. So a lot of people think of like MK Ultra, right? When you think mind virus, you think MK Ultra, like somebody sat you down and I don't know, indoctrinated you with all this stuff. But it's really, that's not the stuff that sticks. The mind virus that sticks is the one that you tell yourself when you submit a paper or something like this, and um or you tell a joke and everyone laughs, or you do something and people make fun of you or whatever. That's the stuff that sticks with you much longer than like being sat down and force fed a bunch of stuff. Especially depending on what kind of person you are, you have to work through all the layers of that stuff. The words that you hear inside of your head, for people who have that capacity, the words that you hear inside of your head about yourself, you have to go back and look at those and figure out if that is something that you agree with, like the stories that you tell yourself about yourself. Because remember, you are your creator and your creator is in you, and when people see you, they see your creator. And if you don't like what you see for whatever reason, instead of saying, yeah, I could stand to lose a few pounds, but look at this good thing that I can do. Look at this that I do. Look at how I help people, so on and so forth. Like, if you can't look at yourself like that, then your creator is not the one who created you. You're worshiping a foreign god. So a lot of this mind virus is all about worshiping a god who is outside of yourself. You have to, if you are the creator and the creator is in you, and when people see you they see the creator, that means you have to understand that you have the capacity that the creator has. So if you want something, like something that just happened was, I received some pretty good news about something. But it was wrapped in bad news. And I was like, okay, this is weird. It's good news about some financial stuff, but it's wrapped in bad news. And so I thought about that and I was like, okay, well, I am my creator, my creator's in me. So my creator would not give me good news wrapped in bad news. So I just come to the conclusion that that news wasn't for me. I mean, I'll take what I can get to do what I need to do, but that really wasn't the thing that I was asking for, because I'm always, like, again, asking for what I need. And so I had to take a step back from that and say, no, my creator is not going to give me something good wrapped in something bad, because I would never give anybody something good wrapped in something bad. I would never call somebody and say, you know, hey, I got this great thing for you, but I'm not sure if it's good or not. I could never do that. When if something good happened to me, I'm calling the person and say, what's your cash app? I'm about to hook you up because I got this and I know you need X, Y, and Z. I'm not gonna be like, oh well, I don't know, this might not be good and this, oh, but I'm gonna take this and do something with it that I know I shouldn't be doing, but I'm gonna give you a piece, but I'm gonna go over here and do some stuff I don't need to be doing. I would never do that. I have a plan. I have a strategy. I know exactly where I'm trying to get. I'm not helping every single person that's in my sphere of influence, but I have targeted things, targeted people that I need to help for this very reason of empowering the nerds. Like, I believe I'm part of the nerd class, but I'm not even the nerdiest nerd that I know. I know nerds who need support, like who really need support in being the best nerd that they can be. And that's where I'm going to spend my time and my resources and my energy. And so that's not what happened. No, like we've been talking about this for over a week now. So anything that comes into my influence, into my sphere, should be related to that. So you have to always be looking around to see, okay, is this especially knowing how these parasites are, is this the parasites trying to lull me to sleep so that I stop asking for what I actually want, which is $5 million to reset my nervous system. So I'm really not gonna be satisfied until I get that $5 million. But was I gonna take the 2,500 and be like, woof, now I can pay this, pay that, and do this little stuff and get ready for school and at least? No, 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 no. My creator don't do at least, because I don't do at least. I don't do the least for people. I'm having these conversations with you. I don't do the least. I take this very seriously. I write my stuff out. I get the things. I record it. I put it in multiple places because I know that's how you market stuff. I don't take this lightly. And so if I don't take it lightly, my creator shouldn't be taking it lightly. Lightly is, okay, well, I'm gonna give you a little something, something, and you go head on and don't worry about that, what you need to reset your nervous system. No, absolutely not. And that's the kind of, if you love yourself, if you have that self-worth on the inside, that's the kind of things you would say. You wouldn't say, "Oh, well, at least I don't have to live on the streets this month. I don't deserve to live on the streets." Would I ever allow anybody to live on the street? No, never. And therefore, this not good enough. Like, you have it's like you have to be really like paying attention to see, like these crypto guys, right? They're making millions of dollars and all this stuff, but they see every day that people are getting margin called, losing everything, rug pulls and all this stuff. What are they doing to prevent that? Why have they not introduced some kind of insurance people can buy who get into the market? Why have they not added value? And that's how you know those people are consumed with parasites, because they're literally not, they are the parasite because they're consumed with parasites. They don't even see what they're like, these a lot of these boomers consumed with parasites. They don't even see that they are the problem that's creating more problems for everyone else. And they're not looking for any single solitary solution for this stuff. They're just letting it pile up. And so when you have all of this stuff like playing out in real time, you have to think and say to yourself, where do I fit in this story? Like, where, what am I supposed to be doing as a result of this process? And as you walk through those steps, again, we were asking the creator, what does creator's love look like? What does this look like? What does the we to differentiate the energy, so that once we had a handle on the energy, now I can see the energy has always been in me, and I'm reflecting that energy that's inside me from the source that's reflecting it into me. And I'm a mirror image of the creator, from my own specific reflection. And when you get to that like deep philosophical point, then all this other stuff is kind of, it doesn't matter. And you can focus in on what it is you really trying to achieve and what you really want to see. And it's not, again, it's not really intuitive because they teach you to go after the shiny things. And something you mentioned about the gold, right? It's funny because the elementals have names, okay? Everything has a name. The elementals have names. They have quote unquote positive elementals and quote unquote negative elementals. The negative elementals are called Derkadeshi. And one of the negative elementals is Turiel, which is gold. And so I looked that up in the Greek because I wanted to know, like, I was looking up all of them actually. And in the Greek, the word is chursos, something like that, like Horus in Hebrew. And it's not talking about any gold, but processed gold specifically. And so with gilding, that's just like a little, like a gold leaf on top. But when you have processed gold, that means you have separated it, milled it out, shaped it into something of value. That's the kind of result we want to have, not where they just put a gold cover over the top and basically make it look like gold, but underneath it, it's just the same as everything else. What we want to have is processed gold. We want to have something that is, because gold really doesn't have a value. Um, because it's so abundant, and there's, anyway, gold doesn't have a value for real. It has a price, but it doesn't have a value because it comes from the earth. It's extremely abundant, and these people just don't know how to find it because it's not for them. And the entities that they've been using, like Turiel, to find it, none of these entities want to work with that low vibrational energy anymore. Everybody is raising up to the higher vibration. And so if you know that, like your whole world is crumbling around you, because people don't want gilded gold anymore. They want the processed gold. The When you take a piece of gold and make it into a ring, make it into an earring, make it into a necklace or something. You've added more than intrinsic value to it. You've added a physical protective capacity to it. These people don't have that. They don't, it's not in them, it's not on them. It's just around them, and they're grasping at straws trying to figure out how to put it all together, and you could just see the flailing. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It's and I think this is ultimately, if we're speaking energetically, it's people refuse to alchemize the energy.
Right,
While those that are doing the work, we are out here refining the energy, elevating the energy, empowering the energy. And we were never taught how it's done. We were this is not something that is like taught in school
right,
or even like necessarily like our family. Like there's a lot of mechanisms in place that make it so that us refining our energy is basically in many ways almost impossible. It's unknown, it's foreign.
right, right,
But we are doing it. We have been doing it. We're learning to continue to do it while these other people continue to fixate on, in many ways, just making money. That's all these
right,
like the crypto people that have all this, they don't care to give back because it's I win, you lose type of mentality, which is a very
right,
old way of thinking, but that's the way that these viruses work. And then the second is like money is their god
yep,
because their validation has always come from the outside. And so
yep,
they believe that they can buy love with money. They believe that they could buy happiness with money. They believe if they keep chasing money, they will find some sort of solace from their torture. And obviously we know that that's not the case. So
no,
they went the path of submitting to the, because you have to submit to the system to make
mm-hmm,
the money that they want to make. You can't, it's like you either get in the fucking pool with them or you build your own pool. And
right,
building your own pool, that takes a long time. That doesn't just happen overnight. You're not just going to find people that are randomly going to want to help you out and build your own pool. But that's what we're doing in refining the energy. We're building our own system, we're building our own reality. And what's happening is they need us. They need the nerds. They
right,
need the people to maintain their shitty failing infrastructure because what they did is just like private equity, they came in, bought everything up, turned it to shit. Who's gonna run it now? Who
right,
are the vets? Who are the secretaries? Who are the people taking care of the dogs? They're gone because the nerds are
right,
not. They don't want to support that system anymore. So it's
right,
only people that want to make the money, but those people in many ways are just completely worthless. And that's what's happening right now is that there's a huge shift where the energy to maintain that system is gone. Is gone. And that's why I feel in many ways this year in particular, at least me personally, the amount of energy that I have had to alchemize, absorb, refine, circulate, like just manage has been so intense because it almost feels like it's
mm-hmm,
like a last ditch effort to I don't know what they think is going to happen to try to derail what we have been building for probably hundreds, if not even thousands of years. Because this is not just something that we've been doing in our lifetime. This is something that our ancestors have been working towards. This is
right,
something that millions upon millions of human beings, angels, have been working towards. And we're like at the tipping point, and the system, the virus is really desperately trying to do something, just create some sort of chaos in our lives to make us submit. But they know we're not going to submit, but it's just this idea that it's a desperation. That's what's going on, is they're very desperate, and we're just doing our thing. Yeah, sure, it might be intense. Sure, there might be difficulties or endings, whatever it might be, but we know that it's only getting brighter for us.
right,
While everybody else is looking at their reality, and a great example is something like cancer. We already have the way to treat cancer. We already have in terms,
Right.
and not through the medical system, but through how we eat and how we live, and also
Right.
understand the that cancer is actually not something to fear. Cancer is actually something internally that our body brings forth to actually protect itself from just the toxicity in this reality. What's interesting is every few months there's a new announcement of, oh, a cancer vaccine.
Oh
we're
my
gonna we're gonna
gosh.
have a vaccine that you could take and no cancer. And so what's happening is it seems like cancer is the way that the system uses to like keep the masses in this lull of, let me keep ignoring my health. Let me keep
Right.
ignoring my health because, hey, maybe if I do get cancer, hey, maybe I could take a vaccine and everything will be okay. Because
Right.
what's happening now is like, at the end of the day, the most important thing for us as a physical human body is our health. And the
Right.
the medical system is clearly failing. Uh, we clearly have very low confidence in the medical system, the doctors, everybody that makes that up. But for the masses to live in a reality where they don't trust the medical system, where they don't trust the system to manage their health, that's complete chaos. That is your complete anarchy. And
Yeah.
the system is basically trying to restrict the masses from questioning cancer. What is cancer? Why is it getting worse? Why is everyone getting it? Why are all these young people getting it? And the system is so desperate to try to find some way to keep them distracted that they're like, hey, look, a vaccine. Hey, look at this. Hey, look, there's this carrot that we're gonna dangle in front of you and tell you that it's a vaccine. You're hopefully you're gonna get a vaccine. Maybe if you're a good boy, you're gonna get a vaccine. Meanwhile, it's like it's just desperate. It's just desperate. So all the moves the system is doing now is not coming from a place of we are in control. It's coming from a place of we have lost complete control and we're trying to keep our elites in order
Uh-oh.
to continue the maintaining of the system.
Did I get kicked out again? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought I got kicked out again.
Okay.
You're right. They're not in control. And something I thought of was the reason. Number one, astrologically, the what is going on right now has never happened in the planet. In 2022, we had a astrological arrangement that had never happened, where Uranus was conjunct the South Node in Mars. It had never happened in the whole planet. Now we have a similar never happened in the whole planet. The astrologers have been looking for it, and it's not there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Mhm.
Okay, my thing wasn't moving. So, with Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, they're in a like a water trine, something. Anyway, so they have all of these records and they know if they can find a time like an astrological time when these things happen before, they can run that program. But like I said, it's not working because that program only worked when we were all on the same tree. And I've talked about this before. The people have been grafted into like the tree of life, like, and it's fine. The Bible talks about that. It's no problem. But what's happening is now the tree of life is being decentralized. So when you have a branch that's grafted into a tree, you have a tree that's already growing, and they cut a little notch in it, and they put a branch in there, and they seal it up, and then the new branch grows off the tree, and the branch that has been grafted in, it never contributes to the root system. So this is another way that this energy has been able to LARP in the energy, because the roots, the actual roots of the tree, cannot detect that the branch is not the same tree, because the branch does not, if it takes in its own water, if it takes in its own nutrients, if it produces its own fruit, it does not communicate that with the roots. So what is being done is now different branches have been taken off the tree to create their own new roots. So before, everybody was just on this one big tree. Now you have, this is where the decentralization is coming. Now everybody has their own separate tree. So one thing you can do is, if you have a tree, you can pull a branch off the tree, cut the ends off of it, like make it real green like, and then you can stick it in some rooting solution and stick it in the soil. And that tree branch will begin to grow its own new roots, set from the same mother tree, from the same parent tree, but now it has its own new roots. This is what this 3 year process has been, at least for the last 3 years or longer, however many thousands of years. We've been growing our own new roots. We are not beholden to just be stuck on that same old tree. We're actually growing our own new roots. And because these parasites, they don't have that capacity because they're not living. The tree branch that they come from is dead. So it was never living, so it can't produce new roots. But because we were living, we maintained our integrity, our soul in the process of this quote unquote evolution. We're still a live branch. So with a live branch, you can prepare it so that it can just grow new roots. And that's what's happening. We are literally producing new roots. And so the way a tree grows is, even if you graft it in, if it has fruits, all well, first of all, if you're going to graft a if you're going to create a new tree from an old tree, you have to remove all the leaves, you have to remove all the small branches, all this small stuff. You have to prepare it, and you prepare it by stripping it bare. And once you strip it bare, you stick it in some soil, and like I said, you basically wait for the roots to form. And once the roots start to form, then you can take that branch that you've stripped bare and made, go through this huge ego death and all of that, and you can replant that in fresh soil. And now, as a part of the root system, because the roots of the trees over the whole planet communicate. So we're becoming part of the whole new root system. And as a part of the root system, if we have a problem, we can call out to the other roots that are also, again, this whole support thing, call out to the roots who are also in this process, and who have already gone through this process, and say, hey, I need some help with this. And the way trees work is, if there's a tree, like if you have a forest and there's a tree that is in distress, the roots will communicate and grab nutrients from wherever they can grab them from to get them to that tree, so that that tree can continue to live, continue to produce. And this is the process we're in now. So this literal time period, like between now and next month, is literally when you're going to start to see all of that, like, progress advance very rapidly, because now we're rooted and we're in the ground. And as being a part of the ground system and not just a part of a tree, means that we have access to the same rights and benefits as the other trees. So if we're having a problem and things are falling apart, we're not going to die because we're a tree. Once you're a tree, once you're a tree, the only thing they can do with a tree is cut it down. But even that has cost them a lot for cutting down all these trees. But if you're a spiritual tree, then they can't cut you down, like, because you have this protection. Again, the whole concept of the angels with the wings protecting the chicks, like, you have this protection, especially as being a part of this quote unquote tree root system, and they can't do that. So they need us. Like I said earlier to someone, I said it feels like there's nothing to go back to, because once you're once you're taken off the tree, stripped bare, you grow roots, and you go on the ground. You can't be taken out the ground and grafted back into the tree. That doesn't even make any sense. Like, that's totally backwards. And so it feels like we just there's just nothing to go back to. Like, even if you wanted to go back to supporting their system or whatever, for whatever reason, you can't even, your frequency doesn't even recognize it, because now you're not a branch anymore. Now you're a tree. And you have to handle the business of the trees.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, it's and the more people that are being nourished by our trees, the less like they also cannot participate in what used to
No.
be. And it's just, I
Mm-mm.
mean, and you're seeing all these, especially the millennials, as well. I'm sure, obviously, the Zoomers, but at least I've seen it big with the millennials. Like they're trying to figure out how to get out of their job, and not because they don't want to work, but because they're just done. They're done with that way of living and being. And the system can't put on its clown shoes and its clown nose and its clown makeup and keep dancing trying to entertain people when they're done. They're checked out. People have
Right.
checked out. And that's what's so crazy. And this year we're just, it's like a huge transformation is taking place, but everybody's almost just, it's like really quiet. It's like eerily quiet. And everybody's just waiting for something to happen. They don't know what's about to happen. It's just, it's like, it's like people are trying to ignore the fact that there's massive, again, it's a pole shift. We're experiencing
Right.
a pole shift, and that means up is now down and down is now up.
Well, the creator is subtle. Like that's one of the first things we realize. When you create something, because you're creating it for yourself, it's a subtle change. It's making your life subtly easier, but making your, like, for example, toilet paper. Like before toilet paper they were using leaves or whatever, and so the introduction of toilet paper, it just made your life subtly easier. But guess what, it's a business that's still making millions of dollars to this day off something that's subtle, and that's how the creator works. It's not, you're not going to be splashy on the scene with something that no one has ever heard of. It's going to be a very subtle transformation. And it's funny what you say about the millennials not wanting jobs, because I'm one of them. Like never liked working. So I just organized my life in such a way that I didn't have to. And I've done nothing but dedicate my life to figuring out how I didn't have to work. And I find that's funny. Like Zoomers are not really like that. They're like, oh, I have to go to work and I have to do this. And I'm confused as a millennial. Like my daughter wanted a job and all this stuff. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you got a dad who will give you any amount of money that you need, and I'm not stressing you out about working? Why do you want to work? It's just confusing to me. It's like you never seen me work. I do a lot of work, obviously, but I never work like that. Like everything I do is strategic. Like I'm working the job that I'm working because I get to be around my kids and keep an eye on them. Like that's important to me. So it's all real. It's all strategy. So for her to be like, no, I want to work like a job, like at the grocery store, I'm just looking at her like, I don't understand this. Like, why are you even? What is the point of that? Like, where are you gonna go? Like, working a job at the grocery store? And again, not saying that it's bad, but it's just my millennial mind cannot understand that because I've created my whole life around not not going in to these companies and giving them my energy. And you have groups of people, again, young people, that's why they want 16-year-olds to vote, because they're the ones who would believe that this kind of stuff. But my age group, we're not. I have no desire for any of that. And I never thought the perks were perks because I knew that it would cost something. What is a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Like I'm not willing to go soulless just because I want to get 2 weeks of vacation and work somewhere where they've got like free lunch and stuff like that. Like I don't want their stuff anyway. So that whole concept of not wanting their stuff, like they're flaunting their stuff as if people want that. And people are like, actually, I don't want that. Like I don't want to work a job. Like I don't know how they're going to get all of these people. It's funny, like the marketing, like around getting people to work with ICE, right? They're not saying, oh, come work with ICE and serve your country. They're saying come work with ICE because you get to do what you love. It's a very different, like the whole like is very different kind of propaganda, which is it's very interesting. Like they got rid of the age requirement. So that means you and your son, y'all could be like ICE bounty hunters together. It's like that's appealing to a very specific like type of person, and I find it to be hilarious. Like they don't even know how to they don't have any anti-propaganda for that, because in the past if you would have said something like that, it would have been met with like it would have been incredulous that you would even say something like that. Now they've got whole things that's like, yeah, no age requirements, so get your pops, get your gun, and go out and hunt some illegals. Like that, that's a incredible stage of marketing, the likes of which we've never, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that on this planet, honestly. And it's all unfolding in this way, but you still have to convince people to participate in the system. And the nerds are not, again, they've lost the consensus of the nerds, and I don't know how they get that back. And they don't know that yet. Like you can tell, like the parasite equity does, because they engage the they engage the most closely with the nerd class, but the political class, they don't know yet. And it'll be interesting when that shift comes in and they realize, wait a minute, we actually can't do this without them. They haven't quite come to that conclusion yet. And you can just tell by the actions and the behavior. Like if they knew that, they would be going out of their way to support independent research and giving individuals research grants that they could, like a nerd like me, I should be able to go and apply for a research grant on studying um, um, entrepreneurship. um, well, what was my dissertation on? It was, how do entrepreneurs gain their skills? That's what my dissertation was about. And I looked at a specific time period to correlate it to this time period. If the government was serious about supporting the nerds, there'd be individual research projects not associated with college that I could go and apply for, and then get the money to do the research, still have to go through the IRB and all of that, and then publish my results. Until they separate um, the um, educational process from these colleges, like totally separate the research process from these colleges, they're not serious about supporting the nerd class. And so that's what I would have to see to believe that they were really serious about supporting the nerd class. Like individuals should be able to go onto a government website, apply for a grant to do their own research and publish their own papers without having to go, not without going through peer review. They would need to set up a peer review process, but not on a college, because the colleges are way too biased. You can't, there's no college that wants to know how black entrepreneurs learn their skills, because they don't want black entrepreneurs. So I don't, where am I supposed to go with that? Who's going to pay for that research? It's the government has to pay for it. And so those would be the things that I would expect to see. Like, and until we see that, we know they're not serious about supporting the nerd class. Now, the parasite equity might do it first, which would be interesting, just to try to get, new ideas flowing. But then you'd have to have people who would go for that. And I'm not sure that if you have integrity, you're not. People without integrity will all day. But if you have integrity, you're not going to go for that.
Yeah, the issue really I think stems, I mean, there's many different foundations from it, but it's one of the ones that I've seen is that these people just they think they're better than everyone else. And
Yes.
like they don't want to rub shoulders with the common folk. They don't want to like they don't even care to entertain an idea from someone that isn't in their group in terms
Right.
of how much money they got, how they look, their political beliefs. But really, it all comes down to goes back again their frequency. Is that we
Yeah.
only associate with the people in our frequency, and at the end of the day, like That's a very that's what got them in this hole. And so
Yeah.
what is happening now, and it's only going to intensify, is the system is collapsing. It's having to collapse because it just cannot support itself. And from this complete destruction of, and in the really, I think it's going to be in the United States, and I don't know what that destruction necessarily is going to look like, but as this destruction takes place, private equity is going to be killed off because they're just not, nobody's going to be going to their fast foods, no one's going to
No.
be going to, we're seeing that with like Vegas, nobody's going to go to all the shit show that they have done, but that's going to require the masses to take risks to jump onto the other boat, and that's going to be interesting to see kind of how that happens. But I think the masses in many ways, like they're just they've had it. They've had it. They
Yeah.
can't afford it. Like they're not in a position to keep getting scammed. And it has
No.
to be this way. Like the masses have to get down so bad that they end up realizing like I gotta change. Like they,
Right.
they gotta be so down bad in their health that they realize, hey, maybe the medical system's not it. They gotta be so down bad with their family life that they gotta realize, hey, maybe I gotta start healing myself. Maybe I got to start being nicer to my family members, or what, whatever it is. It's like this washout has to happen. And because we have been doing the work individually, because we have been the ones leading the way, w- as everything collapses, as everybody's life collapses, sure, ours is going to die in many ways too, but like we've already been doing that process for many
Right,
years.
we've already done the death process. We are literally laying the foundation for what the new system is going to look like, which is why I always keep saying and figure out what you want your little thing to look like, because if you're a tree, you have your own ecosystem. You have your own birds, you have your own leaves, you have your own fruit, you have your own bugs, you have your own grass, you have your own ecosystem. Figure out what you want that to look like, and then just work. Like I tell people, just break it down into pieces and work on, if you can't work on the biggest piece, work on the smallest piece, but work on a piece, because if the action that has to be done is in the mind first, like you have to get it in your mind, like singularly focus on what it is you're trying to achieve. Like what is the next step, what is, have you done everything but, like that's how I look at it. Like for me, I've done everything but gotten the money. So there's no more steps I can take until I get the resources to support the next stage. But everything on this level that could possibly be done, I'm constantly exploring. And then I'm also constantly pushing and looking for new things, like to make sure I have cleared this level, like almost like a video game. Like have I taken out every little thing that needs to be addressed on this level? So like now I can't even imagine going out somewhere to eat. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it sounds good, but I can barely buy food from certain places, and the last time I went home, I bought, the same food I bought the last time I went home, and the time before that, I didn't eat any of, like I could not eat it, and I was like, okay, is this a me problem? Is this a food problem? What is the? I literally like outgrew it, and like it was very surreal, because it's like, dang, this is the only reason why I like to come home was to go to these certain places and stuff that I can't get here, and now I don't really have a reason to go home, because I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I'm not trying to have this food that I can't get here, or whatever the case may be. It was a very surreal experience, having that. Like even here, like I'm not interested in really going out, like to, I don't even eat fast food. I'm like, when I left out the house this morning to start getting back into the school thing, I brought all my stuff with me, and I didn't even eat all the stuff that I brought out the house. So I was like, I don't know, like how can places stay open, like Chick-fil-A, if people start saying I can make my own Chick-fil-A at home? Like they say that you can't get sodas on food stamps. Like what's going to happen when people just start saying, I'll just get some sparkling water? Like I can get sparkling water, right? Because it's water. Yeah, they can't stop you from getting sparkling water. So what's gonna happen when you just make your own soda that's non Pepsi? You know what I mean? Like you buy the sparkling water because you can't make sparkling. I mean you can, but it's expensive. But you get your not even just sparkling water. What is this? Kind of water is this? Mineral water. When you start getting your mineral water, which has all these minerals in it that you need, and you mix it with some lemons and you make your homemade lemonade, like, but it's got mineral water in it, so it's much healthier. Like, what is going to be the result of these mega corporations when people start doing stuff that doesn't cost? They can't put up the toll booth. I That is above my pay grade. I try to stay out of that because it's also not my problem. But because they went too far, so I don't know how you strategically retreat from this without losing your whole company. But some of them deserve it, so I don't feel bad. But it's definitely one of these amazing things to watch.
Yeah, last point, and we can end it here. Uh, there's a big push against seed oils in a lot of these restaurants, fast food places, and
Right.
and so a lot of because these fast food places are now getting so concerned that their food's getting expensive as the quality keeps getting shittier, and now more of the younger generations are becoming very health conscious of what you're frying your French fries in. Now they're being forced to switch to beef tallow, but then but because they're so fucking stupid, the beef tallow is actually cut with seed oils. So
No,
it's
it's not. They are not using tallow coat. Oh
so
my
imagine it's
god.
tallow, and then the second ingredient is like cottonseed oil. You know, some oil, some highly processed oil. Now, not all of them, of course, but like this is the thing. It's like they can't that this virus can't give real. It's like they always gotta dilute it with bullshit. And that type of mentality, it doesn't work anymore. But I don't know, but
No.
for some reason, these supposedly brilliant business people, they don't seem to get it. They don't seem to understand. So what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a huge wave of restaurants, a huge wave of not even just food places, but businesses that are going to be in alignment with what the people are demanding. And most of what the people are demanding is not loud. It's not like
No.
we're out here protesting, hey, we want seed oils off. No, it's things that the consumer doesn't even know they want, but they want. And those
Right.
are the businesses that are going to be coming up that don't have that virus, because that virus is about, hey, how do we program people to eat our bullshit, to buy our bullshit,
Right.
to consume our bullshit,
Right.
as opposed to now it's, hey, how do we guide people towards alignment, towards what is better for
Right.
them, towards what is going to make them healthier, happier, powerful, whatever it might be. So it's a complete different shift in incentives that the old way of being just cannot compete with, because now the incentives are for a more aligned reality, as opposed to what we have been living in for the last at least few decades.
It's funny you said that because I was thinking earlier, okay, if they take potato chips off of food stamps, what do you want me making my own potato chips? Like that's super easy. Like I'll make my own. That's why I'm like, it's very weird to figure out where they're going to go from here. But you're right; they're going to have to put things out that are in more alignment with what the people want, and it's not um quiet anymore. People's like my body physically reject. Like I haven't eaten chicken. I can't even tell you the last time I eat chicken. Like I haven't eaten chicken all summer. And that is unusual because I used to eat chicken all the time. Now I'm like, I don't think I even need to be eating chicken. And if you'd have told me that 3 months ago that I wasn't going to be eating chicken, I would have laughed at you. Like, that's crazy because that's all I can afford is chicken. So, of course, I'm going to have to eat chicken. Now, I can't even imagine eating chicken. like at all. So people's physical bodies is just going to start rejecting this stuff. It's not just going to be that they're quietly looking for things in more alignment. It's that I saw a video, a girl had gone to Chick-fil-A and she made a video. She said, I am done with Chick-fil-A because it don't taste the same. Whatever they did, they messed it up and nobody wants it. And people are just like, they're just not going to do it anymore. They're just not going to shop with these people, and they don't really have a plan for that. It's incredible to watch, really.
Yeah, very fascinating. And as you said, like you say that you couldn't afford it, but really it's actually that energetically you were being told no. That the
Right,
chicken is not like that's not the way. And we it's very important for us to go through these cycles of growth where the energy now, it's like whether it be financial, mental, energetic, physical, there are huge energetic barriers now that are not allowing us to do what we used to do easily. And
right,
that's what is
exactly.
in misalignment. So that's where it goes back to the system. The misaligned system is having to work 10 times harder or even more to do what it was doing effortlessly just a
Right,
few years ago. That that requires and demands a ton of energy that it doesn't have. It does not
right,
have the energy to feed off of to continue managing you try you getting you to eat chicken.
right,
Getting you to do X, Y, and Z what you used to do that now you can do. Or you just it's just out of your reality.
right,
So and this is what's so just fascinating that it's like very few people are seeing it, but it's
right,
becoming very obvious that there's a huge shift in how we go about our life
right,
on a daily basis.
right.
And it's only going to get more intense. This isn't just for the next few months. I think this is for at least probably another 5 to 10 years because the
Oh yeah.
transformation does take place. It doesn't just happen overnight. But because we have been doing this for a while, like we're not stuck in day one, which
No.
is where like the masses are at. Like it's like, hey guys, this is training. Like college is a scam. You
Right,
shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. Conspiracy theories. Like we've already been down that whole rabbit hole,
right,
and came back
right,
out. We jumped in a few others, and now we've been around the block.
right.
So it's like
Exactly.
we're the tour guides.
Right. And that's what we have to be. I mean, that's part of the thing. Like, as we've learned this lesson, and I always say this, people don't have to learn the lesson the way I learned it. I don't want people to learn the lesson the way I learned it. Actually, I prefer if they didn't learn the lesson the way that I learned it. So it behooves me to, like it said in that quote, you know, invest their concerns into the people of their neighborhood to make sure people don't have to learn the lesson like that. If I can help somebody with a resource that I have that they need, I should just give it to them. Whereas that's a totally revolutionary thing because parasites don't work like that. So that's why it doesn't take a lot of people to check out of the system. All it takes is a few
Hmm.
people doing this type of energetic work to say, okay, we learned the lessons the hard way, and that's fine. But I don't want the next person to have to suffer. So if we energetically say, okay, no unnecessary loss of life and no unnecessary pain and suffering, it's it's that's it. It won't happen. And that is the energetic frequency that I've been holding for 3 years. I don't want people to suffer. I don't want people to die unnecessarily. It's not necessary to learn these lessons through death. It's not necessary to leave this planet and come back. It's not necessary. I've been really, really like working towards that goal. And so if other people join in that pursuit and say, okay, just because I had to suffer doesn't mean the next one has to suffer, things also move along very, very quickly in a very positive way.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining, for listening. And we will do another one of these next Tuesday. So hope everyone has a great weekend.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.